What up, what up, what up? We're back with the UFC post-fight reaction, breakdown, opinion, thoughts, and overall wins and losses for last night's card, Noche UFC O'Malley versus Duvalishvili. I am accompanied by no other than the legend himself, Floor Price Guy. How you doing, Floor Price Guy? Before we get into the card, I want to know how you're doing and what's your overall thought of the cinematography, the environment, the way UFC handled the event. What do you think?
I think always a pleasure, Roy. I think UFC 306 was such a special night. We had so many different outcomes, but you can't deny the cinematography. The will this win an Oscar? Like for it was beautiful. Great tribute to all the Mexicans from early stages. Right, they developed it as a movie. Man, what a great card as well. The co-main and the main. We'll talk about that in a bit. But overall, great card. What about you, Roy? What do you think?
Yeah, I think overall the production was phenomenal. One of the things I loved the most was the Octagon girls, how they were able to showcase the different fashion throughout different eras. Right, we had the Tapatias, we had the Aztecas, we had just the Dia de los Muertos. I think it was really cool, and it really added a layer to the event. Overall, I was impressed, and it sucks that it's a one and done. I hope they do it again. Dana did say that he's doubling down. He's not going to do it again, but I think in the future it'll be profitable for them to do it again. Can you imagine on 4th of July or on Halloween or on Christmas, like or New Year's, those type of events, how it would be?
As long as the Sheik could pay for it, they'll do it again. How about that?
Yeah. Diving into the card here, we had the opener in the prelims, Raul Rosas Jr. versus Aroki Ling. We kind of went into the fight thinking that, Raul Rosas was going to pull out a victory. How was he going to do it? I said initially that he was going to get the submission win, but the overall bet would be on him. He toughed out a unanimous decision win. I think one of the things you brought up and one of the things that I noticed was that he was able to calm himself down, not rush into things, because that was one of the things that you brought up that is concerning about Rosas, right? He's young, he's eager, he wants to get in there, he wants to look for the finish, but he did showcase some of his striking. I was kind of impressed, and his grappling is what it is. I'm interested to see what he does, in the future when he's 22 years old, how he looks, how he fills out his body, if he improves on the striking. I don't agree with him calling out a top 15. I don't think he's there yet. I want to see him, bang out a couple more fights, get some more repetitions, and work on the striking and work on the defense. But what do you think?
I mean, look, he was going to win. We knew it. In the at the end of the round, in the second round, there was a little bit of the line changed a bit.
Mm-hmm.
He went from a minus. When did it start? Minus 500 to all the way to a minus 750 prior to the fight, minus 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And once he got him to the ground, all of a sudden it became a minus 2,000. It got and it was like, okay, well he should finish him, but he didn't. Goes past the second round. We get a little bit concerned because if you put a little bit of money down on this kid, you're seeing him gas out a little bit. You're seeing he's gassing out a little bit, Roy.
Yes.
This is good for his career that he went to 3 rounds. He should not be going that aggressive on the first round. I think that's the major issue but he got it done. The line dropped. At one point, he was like a minus 300 again. But then as soon as he got him back to the ground, he showed the dominance. It flew up. So he was able to contain. The reality, Roy, and you know this, his opponent is 26 and 12 now. So he's facing, good opposition. He's letting it out there, but he cannot call out a top 15 fighter. I'm sorry. You're not that, like you say, you're not that guy yet. You're 19. One of the things he was talking about, he was going to be champion by 25. Listen, brother, I hope you're champion. But the reality is, you showed me your striking is not there. Your patient is better, but it's not there.
Exactly. I agree. And I think, taking that Marab route and waiting all these years until you get that title fight is good. We've seen it in the past where the UFC straps these rockets on these young cats and it kind of doesn't serve them well, right? We saw it with Paige Van Zandt. We saw it with Sage Norcutt. It doesn't always end well. So I want to see him knock out a few more fights, get a couple more repetitions in, and improve in those areas that we're concerned with. And then, who knows what the future has in store Raul Rosas in the
And
future.
Cham, very quickly, one of the things to to point out, one of the reasons why he was opening the card, because in his past he he lost a he didn't lose his last fight, but prior to that, they put him on a main event slot. Um, he's not ready for that. I think
Hmm.
that's probably one of the reasons why they opted to put him to open up the card versus going on the pay per view. It is a lot. It's very stressful.
Hmm.
Like I said, just have fun, get better, build, and go from there.
Yeah, and also the future is bright, right? Build him, build his reputation, build his aura, and then in the future he can land on that main card slot. Hopefully, headline a UFC event in the future down the road, but
Fight
knock
card,
out
yeah,
those repetitions. Knock out those repetitions.
yeah, fight card, right? So, yeah,
So following that fight, we had Edgar Chairez from Mexico going up against Joshua Van, the American. Now, this was an interesting fight. One of the things that we were concerned with going into this fight was Joshua Van's short notice. He was just coming off of a knockout loss to Chris Johnson, I believe. Is that who he lost to?
yeah. Charles Johnson, yes,
Charles Johnson. I apologize, Charles Johnson. And within 2 months, right? That's the one thing we were concerned with. But had he had a full training camp, I thought this fight would have been a lot different. I thought he would have gotten the knockout because he looked crisp. If you look at the first round, Chavez came out gunning, right? He came out gunning. He sniped him a couple times. He hit him with a couple good shots. And for a moment there, we were kind of thinking, "Oh, this is not going to end well for Van." But he slow cooker, right? Slow cooker. He came out in the second round. He hit him with a vicious combo body shot, and he kind of swayed the momentum on his side, and he pulled out the win. He pulled out the unanimous decision win. I thought he looked good. He looked crisp, taking the fight on short notice.
yeah.
He looked good. What did you think?
I mean, look, we talked about this, right? One of the major concerns we had is this kid fought less than 2 months ago, right? It was supposed to be another fighter. Fighter goes out. Van doesn't hesitate. Took this fight within 10 days' notice. Goes into this fight. We made our predictions basically that it was a money line thing.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the start of that first 2 minutes, one of the things, Chairez, shout out to him, he came hot, speed. He listen, and we were live, we were on the Twitter space, and we are talking about if this cat is able to sustain this pace prior to 2 to 3, my man's ready for a top 10 fighter. He looked invincible. Almost caught him with a submission as well. He dropped him, almost caught him. Similar to the next fight we're going to talk about. But Van was able to compose himself, get out of there. And what happened is that Van is a slow starter. So he picked it up in the second and third round, and it was all majestic. Also, Chairez, as we were kind of saying, he just was too hot in the first round. He expended too much energy, and Van took off. After this, with Van, I expect him to take at least 6 months off, just take a little break, because he got rocked again. That's not good.
He took that elbow, right? He took that elbow in the third round. Was it? I think it was an elbow. Yeah, he took the elbow in the third round.
Yeah, it was an elbow. And for an instant there, when Chairez was putting on him, Van dropped to the underdog. So yeah, we got it done. Only thing going forward, Chairez, great fighter. Would love to see him fight again. Van, take a little bit of time off and get on the horse again.
I agree. Diving into the third card on the prelims is Yasmin Jauregui versus Ketlin Souza. Now, I know this fight for a fact ruined a lot of people's parlays, right? Because a lot of people probably put in Yasmin Jauregui based on the odds that she had on the money line. I think she was a minus 550. And one of the things we talked about is Yasmin is a better overall fighter than Ketlin Souza, but Souza is dangerous on the ground. She's a better grappler. So one of the things that you mentioned, I believe, in the pre-fight analysis was in the pocket, she has shown concerns, right? Some vulnerabilities. And what happened exactly? She got hit with the overhand left, right? Got dropped and then submitted. That's all she wrote after that. It's disappointing, but I mean, what did you think of the fight? Are you surprised?
Yeah, I mean, coming off that loss where it was basically ended in less than 30 seconds, you go back into the camp, you say, okay, what are the things we need to work on? And it was those hands coming up, and then that distance. Yasmin was owning the fight within distance. It was great, it was crisp, but then similar to what happened in her previous loss, she got inside the pocket and then didn't respect her opponent's power, right? Is when you're dropping hands, you're dropping your hands here. foundation, and we spoke about the Souza has the God of War stance, right? So she's able to throw it. So shout out to Souza. Man, broke so many parlays, but got it done. Then submitted her. She went out. Wow, champ. I just got to say, we did not expect that, but going forward, Yasmin, she needs to respect the range. She needs to understand. It's like Natalia Silva. We spoke about it. Understand Roy, imagine if Natalia Silva would have started brawling with Andrade. What would have happened?
Would have been long, bro.
But it was very similar, right? So Yasmin, I really hope she understands where she's good at, her range, and we see her come back again at a better fighter.
And I think a loss like this is good for a young fighter like Yasmin. She's 25 years young. I think she's going to take this, learn from it, protect her chin a little bit more, and respect her opponent's punching power, right? Because any opponent, especially in MMA, man, everybody has a puncher's chance. So I think she learns from this, and I want to see her grow and see who she fights next. I want to know what's next for her. Who do you think she takes on next in the division?
Souza? Oof. I mean, oh, man, you can't give her, what do you call it? We're talking about, 1 second. Let me, straw weight. Mm-hmm. The straw weight has not been as active as it should be. Mm-hmm. It's crazy, bro, because Topology had only 5% of Topology had her winning. Like,
yeah, the underdog. If you went for Souza just based off of her grappling leverage over Juaregi, you would have made a bag. You would have made a bag. I wonder what the odds were for the submission. That's what I want to know. What the submission odds were.
I gotta look that up, but she's 2-1 in the UFC. Mm-hmm. You can't give her a top 15 fighter. You got to give her something in the top 20. I don't know who that's going to be, but yeah, give her something in the top 20. Have her fun one fight, and then have her fight a top 15.
Exactly. We'll see what the future has in store for both of them. Diving into the fourth fight on the prelims is Manuel El Loco Torres versus Ignacio Bahamondes. Now, if you listen to the pre-fight analysis, I was big on Torres because, he's able to get into the pocket. He's able to finish his opponents within 2 to 3 minutes of the first round. One of the concerns that we both mentioned was the height advantage, right? Was the height advantage for Bahamondes. And if you watch the fight, like I rewatched it this morning, and one of the things that I noticed was all his punches fell short. All of Torres' punches fell short, and Bahamondes had a great game plan, right? He knew that he was going to come in. He waited, and he just utilized that range, and he was able to clip him twice, and then finish the fight. So I wasn't mad. I thought that this was a pick'em. So at the end of the day, it could have went either way. But going forward in the future, when Torres fights, if he has a similar height and reach, or if he has the advantage, I'm going to go for Torres. But going against a taller fighter who knows how to utilize the length and the distance, I'm going to have to reconsider that in the future.
Another fighter that, based on Topology, had 31% winning. One of the things you talked about was the reach. And I got to tell you, Roy, Torres did not utilize. He didn't fight the way he should have fought. He extended him. Every time he got clipped was because he was throwing an overhand right across, sloppy, and then chin up in the air. And, shout out to Ignacio. And you said something very interesting part of the fight. Who was cornering him? Bilal. And, that camp has been preparing. For that. So Ignacio coming in, it was great vibes. Like, I don't know if you noticed the vibes in the press conference and the weigh-in. He was just happy, excited to be there. He got it done, man, and it was beautiful. The lesson learned with Torres, he cannot overextend himself. He cannot leave his chin up. If you're going to throw that overhand right, you got to make sure you cover yourself. Listen, this is the UFC. The best fighters fight the best, and that was not the greatest technique. I want Torres to fight. Now, very quickly, I was going to say they looked in like they were in different weight classes. Ignacio looked massive, so big. So I also attributed to that. So yeah, going forward, I mean, shout out to Ignacio. I think Ignacio's now ready for a top 15 fighter. Yeah. Torres, you just got to give him another match. Maybe give him a guy with the same length as Ignacio, and let's see if he evolves. But he can't overextend himself going forward.
Yeah, and I think the the experience really showed in this fight, right? You have Bahamondes, who has UFC experience. He has been in the octagon with high caliber opponents, and it showed in that fight, right? He came in with a good game plan. He utilized his reach, and he was able to pull it out with the KO in the first round, first minute too. Closing out our prelims, we had the Irene Aldana Mexicana against the Brasileña Norma Dumont. Now, you and me both were on the opposing ends of this choice right here. I was going for Irene Aldana. I thought she had the better striking. I thought she was the overall better fighter. And you were going for Norma Dumont, right? This fight, to me, it was interesting because Dumont didn't utilize her wrestling. She didn't utilize the takedown. She was kind of fighting backwards. She was making Irene chase her. If you look, and I even told you during the fight, I was like, yo, she's making her chase her. It doesn't look good. Irene should kind of just stay at the center of the octagon and bring the fight to her. I don't know why she has that forward pressure, because Norma's looking good, fighting, going backwards. And then you have the vicious headbutt. I think it was in the second round. I don't know if you saw the images that I sent you. That slit her forehead wide open. It looked nasty. What are your thoughts of the fight?
I mean, you know, one of the things going into this fight that we spoke about is how has Irene Aldana evolved. He fought the champion at the time, the weight division, Amanda Nunes, and you know, Amanda just took her to a decision. And then she comes back, fights Carol Rosa, and one of the things we were able to identify is that she doesn't know how to take a calf kick. Either she doesn't know how to do it, or she's too lazy to do it. Mm-hmm. But that boxing stance, that forward foot heavy, and you know, it's the same Conor McGregor versus Poirier too, that when you lean that heavy, they're going to exploit that. Mm-hmm. So Norma did a great job attacking that leg. Then it got to the point where Irene was rushing her, Roy. He was just rushing, and Norma was able to hook, kick, step back, didn't utilize her wrestling, mm-hmm. which was, that's what she's known for.
Exactly.
So, yeah, and we also got to be considerate that Dumont is the heavy fighter. She was fighting on 145. They created that division for Cyborg at the time. That division really isn't going anywhere. Norma decides, okay, you know what? Let me lean out. Let me drop down. Drops down to 135. And what a career she's had. Now, Aldana was the number 3 ranked fighter. Norma slots in, takes her number 3. And Norma now is one fight away from fighting for the belt.
Yeah. And so it's going to be interesting to see what plays out next month, right? Because the belt is on the line at UFC 307. So we'll see what happens. Does she get a title shot? Do they give her another fight prior to that? We'll see.
Champ, I'll say this, Champ. Does she want to fight Kayla Harrison? I don't think so. I think I wouldn't want to fight Kayla. I say, you know what, Kayla, take the winner of Juliana versus Pennington, and have her go another fight and really start working on her wrestling defense and her judo defense, because she's going to need it against Kayla Harrison.
Yeah. And I think, you know, going back to this fight, Irene, in the future, when she does fight again, I want to see her utilize more of the toolkit, right? Throw in some kicks, throw in some combinations. Don't focus so much on the boxing. Throw in some takedowns and kind of show how well-rounded you are, right? Because if you just focus on the striking and the boxing, someone's gonna expose you, and they're gonna. And you know, Norma did that exactly. She had the perfect game plan, and she made her chaser. Yeah.
But did she evolve, Champ? And that's one of the things we speak about. It's like when we go back and watch Gilbert Burns. You know, did Gilbert Burns really evolve in that main event? Did you see improvements from Aldana? Because I didn't. I saw a fighter that was aggressive, that was pushing the pace forward. Exactly. Wasn't like, and here's the thing about pushing forward. Sometimes because a fighter pushes the pace forward, it seems like they're winning. Champ, at one point, I'm like, I don't like how she's pushing forward, until they revealed the scorecards of his significant strikes. And I'm like,
well, you see it right here. You see the significant strikes. 309 from Norma Dumont compared to the 183 from Irene Aldana.
Champ, like, she broke her significant amount of strikes. So bulldozing her like that didn't really do anything. And like you said it, she hasn't evolved. I'm sorry. She hasn't evolved, Champ. She needs to evolve. She needs to change that stance. She has great striking, but listen, we need to kick more. We need to we got to go a little bit more. We got to go to Thai a couple of months to Thai.
Yeah,
Honestly,
you utilize other tools to set up your striking, right? Don't just depend so much on the striking, but that's neither here or there. Norma Dumont pulled out the win. You were right in your prediction. We'll move on.
36 leg kicks, champ.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Kicking off the main event, we had Ronaldo Rodriguez versus Ode Osborne. Now, this is the first Mexican other than Raul Rosas to pull out a victory on this card. Banger of a fight, man. Banger of a fight. For everybody, I think, watching live thought that he was out. And thank God the referee didn't stop the fight. My man got knocked out, head hit the canvas, got into a triangle choke, and somehow miraculously got out and survived the round. Pulled out a phenomenal round 2, right? And then a phenomenal round 3. I am concerned, though, with Ronaldo Rodriguez's defense. Like, he strikes and he keeps his chin in the air. He doesn't really move his head. He kind of just stays right there. Like, if against any other decent opponent with decent striking, he's going to get slept. But he's a tough cat. He's a tough cat. He pulled out a win. When he got dropped, I think we all thought the fight was over, right? What are your thoughts of this fight?
You said it the best, right? I mean, listen, this fight was very similar to the Chairez and Van fight.
Mm-hmm.
When Ode came up, he came up quick. Like it was on. So first, like also two different fighters, two different weight classes. They looked like, and when Ode was throwing that speed, I was like, this is gonna be a problem. Got in, got left hook, got dropped down. But we speak about it all the time. When these fighters, they throw this heavy, furious power that comes at a cost, and that costs energy. Like, and so at a point there, when he slapped him with the triangle and he was trying to kind of adjust, trying to go for an armbar, Ode was tired. And then at that point, Lazy Boy started to regain consciousness, get better. Shout out to Lazy Boy. He got it done, survived. And then, he used the grappling. And it was perfect, right? Because Ode didn't really have a solution to the grappling.
Mm-hmm. And so, you see, he managed him on the ground. He controlled him for almost 10 minutes.
That was crazy. Yeah. Ode needs to work on his
straight. He almost controlled him for 2 rounds straight.
Ode needs to work on his grappling. He needs to go back and try to implement more grappling sessions. That he needs to get better at the grappling. Ronaldo, I mean, the lesson learned is just he needs to be more patient. The reach advantage we gave it to Ode, and he took advantage of that. That left hook, champ, that was beautiful, but he didn't get it done. Lazy Boy survived, and man, he just rode him up. It was interesting to see the odds because at one point the money line was probably like a minus 400, 500 Ode, and you could see it kind of like stay there, drop down, go up, drop down. It was an amazing fight. Both fighters could learn something off this. I hope Lazy Boy comes back, takes a little bit of time off too, right? And just in that division, in that flyweight division, he needs to keep his hands up.
Exactly, I agree. And I think had Ode not underestimated Rodriguez's ground defense,
yes,
would have kept the fight on the feet. We would have had a different outcome, right? I think we would have had a different outcome because he looked so fast in the beginning, and then when he went to the ground, he expended a lot of energy, like you mentioned, and he looked gassed. I mean, at one point, his corner had to pick him up. I don't know if you remember. I think it was the second round going into the third. They had to pick him up and take him to the corner. So, yeah, I think if he had a different game plan going in, utilize his striking, focus on that speed, and hit him with those combinations, we would have had a different outcome. But Ronaldo Rodriguez pulled out the win. He got a unanimous decision win over Ode Osborne at the Sphere. We'll move on. Our next fight that we have here is Daniel Zellhuber against Esteban Ribovic. And this is something that we talked about in our pre-fight analysis and something that I text you that this fight is a pick and it can go either way. I have Daniel Zellhuber winning the first round, arguably winning the second. Third round, 10-8, which gave Esteban Ribovic the ultimate the win in the end, right? The split decision win. Yes. But this was a banger of a fight. It speaks to the warrior mentality of the Mexican culture. My man got rocked, and he was up against the cage. You knew he wasn't there. He was in another dimension, brother. He was moving sideways, like trying to just recompose himself. good fight. I think Daniel Zellhuber in the end, he got a little careless. He got a little recklessness. He was probably searching for the knockout because he did stun him with that elbow, dropped him, and I think he kind of lost sight of his game plan. But if you look at the first 2 rounds, he was utilizing his reach, he was utilizing his height, and he was kind of keeping him at bay, hitting him with the combos. Good boxing, crisp boxing. I like Zellhuber. I'm interested to see him fight again, see who they give him and where he goes from here. But Esteban Rebovich in the freaking pocket is a dog, man. This guy is a dog. I love this fight. This was a good fight. What did you think?
Well, Esteban, I got to say he impressed. Daniel was ranging him up with the jabs, and it was working. It was working, but this kid did a couple different things. He utilized the leg kicks more. 21 leg kicks, all of them landed. And then he combined that with the body, head, head, body, head. He was, they pulled through body punches, but Esteban used them better. I'll be honest with you, champ. And then, like you said, going into that third round, it's looking like Daniel's taking the victory. It's either 2-0 or it's 1-1. Mm-hmm. But, Daniel dropped him, but then Esteban comes back, brother. And it looks like reminiscence of Frankie Edgar versus Gray Maynard 2. Mm-hmm. And it just felt like it was 3 minutes getting hit, him kind of going to the fence, moving, dropping. Shout out to Esteban. If it wasn't for that fight, and I think that's one of the reasons why open scoring system should be implemented in my eyes, because Esteban knew that he needed to hurt this man and needed to make an impact. And he went for the kill, and it worked out, and he was tired. He was still throwing. So body, head, body, head. It was a beautiful fight, champ.
Yeah, it was a great fight. Like, arguably, I don't remember if they won fight of the night.
Yes, they did.
They had to. So this was a great fight. I love this fight. Yeah, there's nothing else to say. Fucking great fight, man.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Diving into our third fight on the main card.
Hey, relax.
We have a little bit of changing of the guard here. We had Diego Lopez against Brian Ortega. And our pre-fight analysis was heavy on Diego Lopez. I thought he was the better striker. He has all the momentum. Brian Ortega's a dog. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners, man. He's deadly on the ground. And Diego Lopez knew that. When he stunned him and dropped him, he got a little confident. He got a little cocky, in my opinion. He just tried to get down on the ground with him, but then he realized who he's going up against. He stepped back and he let him get up. But Brian Ortega knows his strengths. He stayed on the ground. He's like, come. Just come to me. But Diego Lopez didn't. He didn't take the bait. Initially, he did, and I'm glad that he didn't commit fully. He got up, he let him stand, and he just dominated. He was hitting them with those vicious calf kicks to the leg, kind of creating welts and bruises on his left leg. I don't know if you saw. They zoomed in on it at one point. I think his game plan was perfect. Diego Lopez is now ranked number 3. I'm intrigued to see where he goes from here. But just an overall great performance, answered a lot of questions. I know you had a lot of questions regarding Diego Lopez. Is he that guy? Is he ready? Are they strapping a rocket chip to him? Is it too soon? But he answered those questions. What did you think of the fight, Flores?
Yeah, well, you know what? I was wrong. Listen, this is the guy. Because to me, prior to that, Lopez didn't face Dan Ige. Shout out to Dan Ige. Dan Ige was ready to step up at UFC 306. But the reality is, man, it was watching two different fighters at different levels fight, and it was just the speed advantage, the quickness, the boxing. And then it's just like even the jiu-jitsu, like everything was just like Diego's that guy. I'm sorry. I take it all back. And I saw Diego fight live in New York City last year, and he put down well, let me get his name. My apologies on this. 1 second. He put him down in the first round.
Yes.
Sadiq Youssef. He put him down in the first round, and Sadiq's a top 15 fighter and was supposed to fight Brian Ortega, comes back. It was such a great fight as well. Shout out to Brian for withstanding that. How many knockdowns? 3, 4? It was a couple knockdowns. Reminiscence
on the Ortega and Lopez?
Even on the first round, it was like 1 knockdown.
It's interesting that they didn't count it as a knockdown.
That was a knockdown. I don't know why that was a knockdown.
Yeah, it's weird.
That was a knockdown. Shout out to Lopez. He has the full package. I didn't see him tired once. The speed, And we were waiting. Where's the Ortega comeback? Where's the Ortega? Because even if you're not going to finish him, or typically there's a comeback that puts that fighter in a dangerous position. But Lopez neutralized all that. Champ, I'm excited. Even the former champion Volkanovski said, you know what? While we wait, why don't we set up an interim fight against me? So
Mhm.
the former champion calling out Lopez. I mean, I don't think you need a former champion, to be very honest with you.
Mhm.
But that's the fight to make. I'm sorry. Have Holloway fight Taporia. Whoever wins off that takes a little bit of recovery, and have Volk and Lopez fight, not for the interim, but for the number one contender spot.
Yeah, I think that's the fight to make. And I think Lopez's game plan was perfect, right? He really demonstrated how much he respected Ortega's jiu-jitsu, not committing to the bait, right? Not committing to the bait. Because Ortega has this thing where he gets rocked in fights and he goes down to the ground and he kind of lures his opponent in, he recomposes himself and gets the submission win, right? He's very dangerous. They call him T City for a reason, right? Why do they call him T City?
Triangle City, baby.
Triangle City, baby. So I thought his game plan was great. He looked good. I think the Volkanovski fight is a fight to make. Do you think they make that fight, or do they run it back with Mosvar?
Yes, and that's what I was going to bring up, champ. Right now, you got Diego kind of coming up, and now he's the top 3 guy. So where do you put Brian? Because if Brian goes to 4 or 5, 5 is Arnold Allen,
Yeah.
and then 4, and then Mosvar is number 5, and Mosvar beat Allen, so it's based on activity.
Yeah.
So it might be a situation, champ, where I think Volk is saying, "Hey, I want to fight this guy," but listen, if Taporia beats Max, I think Volk will challenge Taporia, and it will leave Diego open for Movzar. Get that win back, because he a contingent upon Aljamain losing, of course. Because if Movzar goes in, destroys Aljamain,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the fight to make. That rematch is going to be very crucial. But if Aljo goes in and spoils the party, Diego's is up next with Volkanovski.
Yeah, because there's a lot of storylines that could play out, right? Like if Topuria beats Holloway, does he give Volkanovski the immediate rematch? Does he ask for a number 1 contender fight between Volkanovski and Lopez prior to giving him the rematch, right? Like prove yourself. Or, if Holloway beats Topuria, does he want to get that win against Volkanovski? Does he call out Volkanovski? Does he give him that fight? There's a lot of stuff that can play out, but I think you could either do Lopez versus Volkanovski for the number 1 contender, the true number 1 contender, or you could run it back with Mosvar, depending on how his fight goes with Sterling. So, yeah, a lot of things can play out, and we'll see what happens. But excited for Diego Lopez. I'm on his side. I want to see him get that belt. Who knows? It's a tough decision. It's a stacked division, so we'll see. Now, I don't know if you fell asleep during this fight, but the women's co-main event for the flyweight title between Valentina Shevchenko, the contender, the challenger, versus the champ, Alexa Grasso. I got nothing to say. Not much to say. I mean, Valentina came in. She took her down 8 out of 12 times, controlled it for 16 minutes of 25 minutes, and really just a dominant performance, right? It's not a pretty performance. It's not the performance you want to see. In comparison to the rest of the card, the fight didn't live up to what the rest of the card was, right? It was kind of boring, but this is the new era of the championships. The route to the championship is just controlling your opponent, taking them down, and just winning that way. What did you think of this fight?
Well, this is what was happening back in the day when you had all these former champions that are wrestlers that lay and pray, and Diego Lopez in an interview said Alexa did not look like herself. She looked like a shadow of herself. Again, when Valentina took her down, she was trying to be active, but man, Valentina came up and said, "You know what? I'm not going to play this game. I'm just going to take her down. I'm just going to," and shout out to Valentina. People forget when she used to fight in bantamweight, she submitted Juliana Pena.
Yeah.
Like, Valentina is no joke. And,
She's bad.
shout out to Valentina. Now, was it exciting? No. And I think that was the issue that a lot of fans have. They're going into the fight, and, you see all the wars, and you're like, well, this is going to play out. But Valentina had different plans. Valentina had no intention to strike, and you can't blame her because Alexa's been getting good, and that striking, shout out to her. She took the and you called it, Roy. She took the Habib route. This is the wrestler era.
This is the Dagestani era, baby. What do we call the Dagestani
the
era?
Dagestani area. So what do, champ? Do you run it a fourth time because it's one win each, one loss each, and a draw? So it's Moreno and Figgy had a fourth round. So what's going on? Does Natalia Silva get to jump on the line? What do you think, champ?
Well, I think they announced that Natalia Silva's fighting at 307. Am I
really
correct in saying that? Let me see. UFC.
That's a little bit sus.
Let me see. Can you verify that? Let me verify that because I remember seeing that.
Natalia Silva fighting next fight. Let me see.
I remember seeing her name on that card. I didn't look too much into it, but if you can verify that, because depending on how.
No, champ. Nothing has been announced.
I could swear I thought I saw her.
There's a lot of buzz with her. Like there's a lot of.
This is a hoax.
Yeah, there's a lot of buzz with her. But no, she's not. She's nobody announced
in that regard. But yeah, what was your question?
No, I mean, look, that flyweight division. Let's talk about it, right? Because I think we got to, take a minute and appreciate what's happened. Is there going to be a fourth round, champ? You know what's scary? You know who's at number 2? Sorry, no, let me go. I was looking at the wrong man off. Okay, so one of the things we haven't spoke about is Fiorot. Fiorot is next in line. So do we have Fiorot? Do you it's a tricky one, champ? I mean, listen, there might be a fourth fight. Fiorot might face, I think, Barber at this point. There's so many different fights that could potentially happen in that division. So we'll see if the champ wants to fight. We'll see. Yeah, I think Fiorot will fight Barber if Valentina decides to fight Alexa Grasso a fourth time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I need to verify if Silva's fighting because I recall I saw that. I'll look and I'll send it to you later because I recall seeing it before. But yeah, I think they. Do you run it back? I don't think Dana was too happy. You heard him in the post-fight presser. He said, "Listen, you could pay $20 million for a spectacular event, but you can't decide the outcome of the fight." He stated verbally that he wasn't too impressed with Valentina's performance with that, that type of fight. We know he doesn't like those type of fights, right? He likes to give people what they paid for, something thrilling, something exciting, the knockouts, all that. But we'll see. I don't think they run it back. I think they do another fight prior to that. I think she defends her bout against Fiorot.
Yeah, champ. It's going to be an interesting one. I do think, if I'm not mistaken, so Rose is fighting. I'm trying to see because I think Rose is fighting Erin Blatchfield. I'm trying to confirm that information. Yeah, that whole division, it's unfortunately if they deemed it to be a good fight, it's interesting. So it is confirmed. Erin Blanchfield is fighting Rose Namajunas. Namajunas was champion at the strawweight, but at flyweight, it's just different, right?
So let me correct myself. I found it here. Someone put out an image on Twitter saying that Natalia Silva will be fighting Vivian Araujo, but that is a typo. It's gonna be Karine Silva. So whoever made that image that's what I saw. Which
yeah.
So yeah. So
yeah, Viviana. I think at this point, number 6, Silva can't fight bottom. He's gonna fight top. And I mean, listen, you got locked up Namajunas versus Erin 3 versus 5. Then you have the number 2 contender that she did weigh in as a backup fighter. So technically, you got to give it to her. But if Valentina wants to fight a fourth time, they're going to fight a fourth time. That's the reality of it. But if this doesn't happen, you're either going to get Fiorot, Barber, or Silva. They're gonna tangle.
Yeah, you're gonna have to at some point.
But champ, I'm loving the flyweight division in comparison to the strawweight right now. It has a little bit. It's after we get this fight out of the way, we get a lot of different fights. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Exactly, and look, Valentina Shevchenko, she she's back on top, man. She dominant performance. It's not the prettiest, but dominant performance, and we'll see how long she could defend that title. She did it 8 times before. You think she knocks out another 8, or you think the
I
age is
don't
getting
think
up?
so, champ. I don't know.
You don't think so?
And also, have you seen Manon Fiort? Like,
Mm-hmm.
she's the Wonder Boy Thompson of that flyweight division. So
We'll
it's
see.
scary. It's scary. But yeah, champ, looking forward to seeing who's up, who's next for Valentina. Is Alexa who has to fight, and we'll go from there. It's gonna be exciting.
Diving into our main event, we have Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili. O'Malley lost. The Sugar era is over. He lost in a unanimous decision to Merab. He was mauled. It was very Bala-esque. If you remember from our pre-fight analysis, I said, floor price guy, are we gonna see a Bala-esque performance where he just, we're overplaying the power and the striking significance of Sean O'Malley and underplaying Merab's, wrestling. Are we similar to how we did with Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad, right? And watching this fight, O'Malley didn't look like he was getting into the flow of things. Like every time he would let go and start throwing the jab and throwing the combinations, he would get taken down. It was controlled for 10 minutes. So half the fight he was on the ground. I mean, what are your thoughts of this fight? What are your thoughts of Merab's performance, and what do you think is next for Sean O'Malley?
We knew this was going to be a possibility, but we took into consideration that O'Malley's just been looking better with the takedown defense.
Mm-hmm.
The reality, bro, he did look a bit flat that night. It wasn't his night. It was Merab's night. Merab just looked amazing. We posted on X that little scuffle that one of the cornermen, Tim, was speaking to Merab, and Herb Dean had to calm him down, and even I'm like, whoa, like this is sports psychology at its finest.
Yeah.
And if you give it backstory, Tim did it back in UFC 92 versus Aljamain Sterling. Tim was doing the same tactics, and he was going in the ring. Aljo, go get him. That's when Aljo, released an overhand right and rushed it, and Sean became champ. I'm not saying that that's the reason he became, but champ, we got here 46-49, 47-47, 47-48. Apparently, 2 judges gave Sean the 2 rounds. I got to rewatch the fight again and just to kind of see, but he looked flat. He didn't look like himself. It didn't look like the Sugar era. He admitted he wasn't, he's going to come back. And yeah, I mean, listen, I'll be honest with you. Merab now gets to fight. The UFC's pushing Umar, Habib's brother. I'm
not sure if you caught the post-fight interview. Joe Rogan asked Merab, Umar is in the audience. What are your thoughts of a fight with him? And Merab's response was kind of like unconvincing. He was like, well, he looked like a little, like, I don't want to say timid or scared, but he was like, I love Dana. I respect Dana. And if, Dana's a great guy. And if he wants me to fight whoever, I'll fight whoever. But I think Merab, in his mind, I don't know, but the way I see it, my perception is that he had this long road to the title shot that he doesn't want to give Umar. And also, stylistically, it's a bad matchup. It's a good matchup, but it's bad for him, right? Because Umar's a beast. You get me? So one of the things he said was, give Umar Peter Yan. I want to see him go against Peter Yan. And then, depending on how that fight goes, we'll talk. Because he wants to fight the God of War. That's what he wants next.
But let's be honest. Didn't Sean did that to Merab as well? When Merab beat Aljo, Merab was ready, and what did Sean say? I'm gonna fight Cheeto. And Cheeto was not even Cheeto was a top 6, top 5 fighter, right? Like Tito had won one fight. I'm trying to see which one he won, but it just didn't make any sense. So Merab is on his point. I don't think Umar should be getting the title fight. I think, if anything, right? Oh man, it's just difficult, right? Because you beat Corey. I know for a fact that the next fight, Sean needs to fight Corey. And
you don't think Sean moves up?
No, I think Sean will fight Corey Sandhagen while he's buffing up, while he's trying to address his stuff. I think that's a great fight for the fans. They both have a very footwork style, in and out. I don't think he moves up, champ.
You don't think he goes after the BMF title?
Let's say this: if Holloway loses, I think you make Sean and Holloway for the BMF. I think that's what you make. I think that fight makes sense, but that's in a month from now. Is he going to win? Is he going to lose? We don't know. It's going to be interesting. But Merab, I mean, listen, like, let me just open up the rankings, right? Because this fight is extremely. Merab is champ now. You got Umar, you got Peter, Corey Sandhagen. Corey Sandhagen is not touching none of those guys, unfortunately, and Figgy, right? I mean, the number one contender fight should be Jan versus Figueroa, and then you give Merab to Umar. But I mean, if not, you're gonna have to reshuffle the deck. You're gonna have to you give Figueredo. I mean, listen, Figueredo is a winnable fight for the current champion now. Let's be honest, champ.
You don't think, given their back and forth, we get O'Malley and Cejudo?
I mean, number 1 versus number 6. Cejudo's coming off 2 losses. I mean, Cejudo, like, let's be honest, champ. That's a payday fight. Like, Sean won't ever go back to a fight night card. Sean is pay-per-view going forward. Either a co-main event or a main event. I don't think so, champ. You can't. You got to give him Corey. Corey's ranked at number 4. Now, for money-wise, yes, you give him Cejudo. But does Sean want to go that route right away? That's a good question.
Right. That's where my mind is at. Do you think they give him Cejudo to kind of let him get that momentum back, right? Kind of let him get back into that, you just give him the momentum back.
Yeah, give him
Sandhagen.
Yeah, but money-wise, stylistically, it makes sense to fight Corey. You get back that sugar aura, right? And then I think I said it in X, you put him in the co-main event of a Conor McGregor fight, right?
Conor McGregor ain't fighting, bro. I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you, Conor McGregor ain't fighting. You saw that video of him, flapping his gums, looking a little suspect.
Yeah, it's been interesting, but that whole division, man, the worst thing that could have happened was Corey giving that fight to Umar. Corey should have turned that down. Should have been, no, brother, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
But Umar's there. He won him fair and square. That grappling, that sambo, bro, it's intense. And now Umar's next in line. Like, the UFC wants Umar. I don't think Umar is a star. He has the Nurmagomedov name. I don't know, champ. Like, I'll be honest with you, I'm very disappointed that Sean lost, because Sean wins, it opens up the opportunity for so many different things. Now they're gonna have to build Merab. They're gonna have to, build him up. Then what do you do with Sean? Do you give him a fight and you fast track him? Is Merab even ready for it? It's a good problem, but it's a bad problem for when it comes to money wise, because Sean, you can't put Sean on a main card without being co-main, or it's just, he's a star now, right? It's just
one of the things at the post conference fight press conference that was interesting to me was Merab said that if he was to fight Figueredo next, he'd have a lot of content that he already has in his mind that he's going to push out. But if he fights Umar, he's going to stay quiet. So that kind of tells me his confidence level, like going up against somebody like Umar. I want to see him go against Figueredo. In my opinion, I think it's a more exciting fight. I think it's more deserving. Umar, put him up against Peter Yan. Just give him that fight. See what happens.
Yeah. And champ, like we talked about it, I don't think Umar looked very shy. Now you're seeing more Umar in the spotlight. But Umar needs one more fight to be a badass. I'll be honest, they need to build him up. Like, you need to listen to the fans. You need to listen. Like, it's not about what's right. Just because you beat Corey Sandhagen does not make you the number 1 contender. Let's be very honest with you.
Yeah.
Very honest about that. We spoke about, there's been many fights. Junior Dos Santos versus Verdum at one time. Verdum was the number 1 contender, and he was set to fight for the title. And JDS came out and knocked him out in the first round with an uppercut. You think they gave JDS a title? Absolutely not. Why? Because he needed to build that name. And I think, you beat Peter Yan, it's impressive. Because, you feel me? Corey Sandhagen was impressed me. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think the fans, are backing him up.
Yeah, exactly. And so let me read this to you right now. At flyweight, you currently have Alexandre Pantoja, current champion. Bantamweight, you have Merab Duvalishvili. Apologize for that. Flyweight, you have Ilia Topuria. Lightweight, you have Islam Makhachev. Welterweight, you have Bilal Muhammad. Middleweight, you have Dricus du Plessis. Lightweight, you have Alex Pereira. And at heavyweight, you have John Jones. And then Tom Aspinall is the interim heavyweight. What is your thought of the current men's UFC champions?
Brother, grappling heavy. Like we're back in the 2012 era, where at one point, like Kane, everybody except Anderson Silva was not a grappler. Like it's crazy to see this. And oh man, I've been seeing what people have been saying. It's like, okay, well, we got to focus on more. Dana has to bring Muay Thai. Striking knockouts are great. But that's the thing about it. Like that, I think that's what makes the UFC unique. They're not gonna pressure people to, you gotta go striking. You think a guy like, like Bilal in his last fight, like Pantoja. Yeah, man, it just sucks we lost Sugar as a champ.
Yeah, I think one of the things we talked about last night, I think it was brought up that Sugar is better for the company, right, as a champion in comparison to Merab, right? He has that reach, that influence, and a different demographic than Merab. Merab is kind of trying to get into that demographic with the content and everything, but I think Sugar would have just attracted a different audience of fight fans. But that's the way the ball rolled, man.
Well, champ, and I think the talk is Sugar. Was Sugar reaching Conor McGregor? He was, but this loss sets him back because, ideally we spoke about this. What Sean would have done was beat Merab, fight Topuria, even get it at the BMF, and then maybe you could go after Tank, or even there was an exchange between Devin Haney and Sugar. So these boxing guys really want to put it on Sugar, and that's good. Sugar has a lot of attention. I think he's the most sponsored fighter in the UFC. The guy that appears in all these major live streams, that's the future right now, has a company with Jake Paul, that deodorant company Win. I didn't know about that till literally earlier today. And it's just like they were going to push this guy, but that derails him a little bit. And you can't focus on boxing now. You got to focus on your grappling and getting back into it. And like I said, champ, there's a lot of things that could happen. I think Sean could also wait the winner of Topuria and Holloway, contingent upon Holloway losing, he could challenge Holloway for the BMF title. I think that would be an amazing fight. You can make that at 150, 155, champ. But we'll see what happens. We got to wait and see is Umar next. That's the real question.
Yeah, we'll see. So that rounds up our UFC 306 Noche Latina card. Merab Duvalishvili is your new bantamweight champion. We enter into the Merab era. There you have it, our full UFC 306 Noche Latina review, reaction, thoughts, opinions. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, I'd like you to subscribe, like, support, comment. If you agree with us, let us know. If you disagree with us, let us know. Tell us we're idiots. We don't care. We don't take it personal. We don't get emotional. We don't crash out. Right, Floor Price guy. We don't crash out. We'll take it into consideration. We love hearing different opinions, different perspectives. So just tap in. We will be in next week with the UFC Fight Night Moicano versus Saint Denis. Review, analysis, prediction, who we're going with, what we think, what are our thoughts. I think that's a great fight. I'm interested in that fight. Moicano, his last fight against who did he fight where he had the walk? It was a 300.
Jalen Turner.
Jalen Turner, right? He was able to turn it around, and then Saint Denis coming off a loss against. Is it Gilbert Burns? Gilbert Burns, right?
No, Dustin Poirier.
Oh, no, Dustin Poirier. Yeah, I always get those two guys confused.
No, Jack Magdalena. Yeah, Jack Magdalena.
Jack Magdalena lost to.
No, Jack Magdalena won. You're confusing Saint Denis for Jack Magdalena.
That's who I confuse him for. Yeah. I always do that for some reason. So yeah, he's coming off a loss, and this individual's coming off a win. So we'll see where that fight lands us, and how it goes. But thank you guys for tuning in. Floor Price guy, any parting words?
No, man, this was a great card, great fight. Listen, the UFC lost money, but they leveled up. We're about to get maybe an Oscar, next time. Like, this is a great performance, once in a lifetime, maybe. I mean, hopefully that she can come back and run it again. But Noche UFC was great, champ. Champ, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to do this with you, champ.
Likewise, brother. Take care. I'll see you on the next one, y'all. Peace out.